Welcome to episode 18 of our second series on the surnames and early families of Appalachia and, of course, the American South. Before we get started today, I want to invite you to stick around until the end to find out how you can get a free copy that is, of the Family Name Catalog. It provides a listing of the family names that we've covered thus far here on the Vantage Point, along with their episode numbers and corresponding premiere dates. It promises to be a good discussion today, folks, so I hope you'll join me. Number 1, Osborne, or Osborne, 4 different ways to spell it. According to Henry Harrison, this family name is considered to be Anglo-Scandinavian. If we need any more proof that this name was introduced into the Isles by Vikings in the 9th and 10th centuries, let's take a look at its original meaning. Divine bear. Now there's a lot of machismo in being called a divine bear. Boy, I wish my wife would call me divine bear, but I'm afraid that's not going to happen. Even though my name's Barry, Bear could be my nickname, but never has attached to me. Anyway, it didn't take long before Osborne folk were showing up in the Scottish records and was absorbed into the lowland Scottish culture and society. By 1550, members of the family were establishing Irish lines in counties Tipperary and, of course, Waterford. They also set up homesteads in Ulster during the plantation era. In 1991, Marie Osborne Caldwell wrote about her ancestor Alexander Osborne. She called him a frontiersman. Yes, she did, a frontiersman. Alexander was born in New Jersey, but spent his early years in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where quite a few Anabaptists had settled. You might know them by their names, Amish and, of course, Mennonites. Now, he then moved to North Carolina around 1750 and put down roots near Rocky River in Anson, now Iredell, I think it's Iredell County. Papa'll correct me on that one. He's really good at those sorts of things. He called his 1,000-acre estate and log house Belmont. Marie Caldwell tells us that, like many of the Scots-Irish who immigrated in the 1700s, Alexander Osborne possessed industrious habits, integrity, and a love of freedom. Religion and education were very important in his life. If you look over my shoulder there, you'll see a book called Rediscovering the South's Celtic Heritage, and in that book I talk about those very traits among the Scots-Irish. And in my other book over there, the blue one, you see, that's In Search of Ulster Scotsland, published by the University of South Carolina Press. It also talks to some extent about that without really kind of romanticizing it. This is more in line with a popular audience, and that's much more in line with an academic audience. So take your pick, and I hope you buy one. Anyway, no matter whether your line came from Scotland, England, or Ireland, the original family came to the Isles on a Viking longship. Number 2, Humphrey or Humphreys. I have to admit right off the bat that I'm old enough to have participated in a mock election for the U.S. presidency that was held in my elementary school back in 1968. Whew! The choice was between Hubert H. Humphrey and Richard Milhouse Dixon. I was only one of a handful of 8-year-old kids that didn't vote for Hubert. I'm sorry about that. If you are a strong Democrat from the 1960s, that's okay. not a problem for me. I just didn't like Hubert. I thought he was kind of peculiar. Anyway, has nothing to do with the rest of you Humphreys out there. Just as we saw with Osborne, Humphrey is a family name that was introduced into the Isles by people of Viking origin. But in this case, it was the French-speaking Normans that the Vikings, those are the Vikings' other descendants. They settled over in Neustria and adopted the French culture and were given titles and lands by King Charles the Simple of France. At any rate, the Normans spelled it Humphrey, or free. They adapted it from the Germanic Hunfrid, which meant Hun peace, or according to the Dictionary of American Family Names, it meant bear cub peace. Well, given that the Huns terrorized large parts of Europe in the final century of the Western Roman Empire's existence, I would think that Hun peace makes more historical sense. Why would a bear cub be associated with peace? Anyway, in Scotland, the name is often spelled Humphrey, and in Ireland, it's often presented as Humphreys, as in plural. You can read about their colonial history in Blanche Humphrey Abbey's Colonists of North Carolina in the Lineage of Honorable W.D. Humphrey. It was originally published in 1938, but you can get a copy through Amazon or at webteam@harvard.com. As it turns out, there are several historical accounts of men named W.D. Humphrey scattered across the American South. Among the earliest that I could find was William Humphrey, a fellow born on June 26, 1750 in Robson County, North Carolina. He died there in 1820. I think you'll need a paper trail to locate the origin of your line of Humphrey. Number 3, Price. Just as Humphrey brought back recollections of politics in the 1960s, the name Price conjured up memories of Vincent Price, the cinematic master of scary movies from that era. Now, while Price might also make us think about the original bearers with respect to maybe charging a high price or something for a service or a good that they were peddling, it doesn't mean that at all. Not at all. In Wales, it meant ap Rhys or ap Rice, for the son of Rhys or Rice. In full disclosure, I have Price ancestry as well. My ancestor was one of the earliest Price family members in the colonies. Daniel Price, not Daniel Boone, but Daniel Price, was born in Henrico, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, County, Virginia in 1689, and later married Mary Tarleton Hughes, who also greeted the world in Henrico County a year later. The couple later moved on to nearby Goochland, Virginia, where they lived out their earthly lives. With regard to pre-colonial American origins, the earliest Price folks no doubt left from England or Wales, but later families named Price may have immigrated from Ireland, where members of the family had resided since the 14th century. That'd be the 1300s to you and me. Number 4, Priest. Here's another name that brings back memories of the 1960s. How groovy cool is that? One of my favorite TV shows was The Munsters that ran from 1964 to 1966. Good old Herman, Grandpa, and the rest. Marilyn Munster was the oddball out in that family of scary creatures. She was a doll, so they gave her a character name that bespoke of a stereotypical blonde beauty, as in Marilyn Monroe. Now, what's interesting to me, at least, is that the actress who starred as Lily Munster was played by Yvonne DiCarlo. Now, in my humble heterosexual opinion, she was one of the most attractive actresses to ever grace the big or small screens. At any rate, the character of Marilyn was originally played by Pat Priest. Okay, Barry, but where did the surname originate, and who were the earliest Americans with that name? That's a good question. Thanks for asking it. Apparently, the surname originated in England during the era of spoken Middle English, which was between 1100 and 1500 AD. As you might recall, or you might have guessed, it was given to a priest or someone who kind of acted like a priest, or was sort of priestly in their behavior. It wasn't just in England, though. A prisoner named Priest appears in the records of Scottish detainees held by the English in the castle of High Rock in 1306. He wasn't a criminal. Rather, he was a political prisoner who had been a follower of Sir William Wallace, the champion of independence for the Scots. Among the first priests in the colonies was Peter Priest. He was born in the north of Wales on September 1st, 1700. He moved to Virginia and married Eleanor Hayward. She was born in 1705, but sadly she died in 1781, the same year as Peter. As you likely know, it was common for elderly spouses to die in close succession to each other, but not as close as Noah and Allie in Nicholas Sparks' book, The Notebook. It's also a pretty good movie, too. Number 5, Husky. This family name could have originated in England, Scotland, or the German-speaking parts or areas of Europe. It's possible that it could have been confused with, let's say, the Irish Husky or the English Hussy. Like in Elizabeth Hussey, she was in the 1977 series about Jesus of Nazareth. I forget the name of it, but she starred as Mary, the Virgin Mary. I don't think in real life she was a virgin, but anyway, in the movie she was. I wasn't able to find an original meaning for Husky, though. According to a publication titled Husky and Ogle Family's genealogical booklet that's housed in Betsy B. Creekmore Special Collections and Archives at the University of Tennessee Library over in Knoxville, the matriarch of the famous Ogle family of Gatlinburg was Martha Jane Husky. She had brothers named Frederick, Isaac, Peter, Jacob, and John William Husky. Martha was born in North Carolina in 1756. She married William Ogle in Rowan County, North Carolina. The newlyweds then moved to East Tennessee and helped to found the town of Gatlinburg. She passed away there in the summer of 1827. Well, folks, that's about all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the discussion, and if you'd like a list of the names and episodes that I've covered so far here on the Vantage Point, please send an email to vantagepoint22@gmail.com. I'll hit return and attach it as a PDF file. Until I see you again, may the good Lord bless and keep you. May He make His face shine on you and give you peace. Bye-bye.